Hello, my name is Bear, and this time I've made a list of games more or less similar to BioShock. Let's start with Prey. It has a cool story that has you playing as a scientist exploring a space station ravaged by an alien life form. Yeah, I know that sounds a bit like an Alien Isolation, but it's nothing like that. It's a first-person shooter with all the benefits of modern FPS games. Prey's story is shrouded in mystery, and exploring the Talos space station is an experience you will get in a few first-person shooter games. Prey gives you a variety of weapons to use, along with superpowers like telepathy or the ability to trick enemies by turning yourself into everyday items.
Wait, what?
Yeah, if you never played Prey before, it can sound like nonsense, but it's not. You can truly acquire alien abilities and use them by stopping time or turning yourself into a cup of vodka and then rolling around like crazy. Basically, Prey is like Half-Life and BioShock had a baby, and it might as well be a full tribute to BioShock. Everything from the art direction, gameplay, audio recordings, and other things are straight from the first BioShock, although Prey incorporates more role-playing elements than what you might find in BioShock game.
Fun, role-playing. Like it, I'd like to role-play.
So, it's not a problem, I guess. Anyway, the act of exploring the space station and finding creative ways to take down enemies is definitely very similar to BioShock, and you have my recommendations and blessing to try this amazing game. System Shock 2. In many ways, BioShock is seen as the spiritual successor to System Shock 2, which was developed by Ken Levine and Irrational Games, the same creators of BioShock and BioShock Infinite. Game takes place aboard a spaceship named Von Braun, I guess to honor the Nazi scientist who sent Americans to the moon. So here you wake up from cryosleep with amnesia and an illegal cyber neural interface implanted into your body. Soon enough you will find out that the ship has been overtaken by an infectious being known as the Many, and it's up to you to unravel the mystery of what they want and stop them. There are a lot of elements shared between the System Shock 2 and BioShock, like a hacking minigame, an in-game currency, and even a research system that lets you collect parts of dead enemies to increase damage against them, similar to BioShock's photography. Also, while doing my research, I found one interesting feature. One of the composers of System Shock 2 was Ramin Djawadi, the same dude who created famous Game of Thrones and Westworld themes. Back then in 1999, he was only 26 years old. Also, you should check on System Shock Remastered. A completely reworked title with great graphics and the same classic experience. I have played the demo, I took this video from my own gameplay, and I do recommend you to check this video out. The best thing for me, a man who never played the original System Shock, was shocking experience
Pun intended.
when I realized that this is not a linear shooter. You can actually decide where to go first, what areas to explore, and you will also have to make a mental map of the space station in your head, because it is huge and it's easy to get lost. Game is not released yet, but you can find the demo on Steam and play it for free. It is quite scary, so be sure that you are not a
Pussy, 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 pussy.
Demo has no save games, so every death is permanent. Be careful, or you can just watch my gameplay instead.
And feed your inner energy vampire on my struggles.
I will not hold anything. 451. Jesus! Jesus! That went well.
And that is not all about System Shock. Third part was announced with this awesome looking trailer, but later developers ran out of resources and so on, the creation process stopped completely, and now the rights of System Shock belong to Tencent, a giant company that owns Riot Games and 40% of Epic Games. Yes, the one Donald Trump hates so much. Sadly, there is no news about resumed development of the game for now.
That's a damn shame.
Yeah, because the provided gameplay looks awesome. Anyway, if you stay with my channel, I promise you will be one of the first to know all the news. Just press that subscribe and notifications button. SOMA. Genre is different, but the whole setting of underwater exploration gives you the desired vibes.
That is a lie.
No, it is not. This is one of the best games I have ever played so far. Here you will explore an abandoned, isolated underwater facility full of scary things where you must find the way out, or even deeper in. You don't know, that's the joy. It's really hard to talk about SOMA without spoiling the story, but the plot is really original and not only brightens up your imagination about the future, but also raises philosophical questions like what makes us human, what life is, what exactly defines existence in general, and why is vodka so cheap in Lidl? Okay, maybe not the last one. That is the greatest question of humanity nobody has an answer for. But all in all, this is one of the best scary story games I have ever played, and if you have humongous balls, as I have, just dive into adventure and find your way up or down the abyss. Half-Life 2. Many of you might argue that the gameplay of Half-Life 2 is not exactly the same as that of BioShock, and that is true. Like, vodka is not the same as whiskey, but the desired result of imbibing those drinks is absolutely the same. Yep, that. So, the storyline of both games here is very similar. In Half-Life 2 you control the character who arrives at an unknown city and needs to unravel all of its mysteries. The city has been invaded by aggressive alien species and has turned into a complete totalitarian state, somehow similar to the cities of Soviet Union. But believe me, life in Soviet Union was somehow still worse than in Half-Life. I know that because I was born in Soviet Union back then. So here human life is not important at all. The alien creatures simply have no reckoning of civilization and will stop at nothing to achieve their cause. There's a big chance that you have played the game already and you are watching this review only for possible jokes. So here is one bad for you.
What did Gordon Freeman experience when he turned 40? A Half-Life crisis.
Dishonored 1 and 2. Series shares a lot in common with BioShock. Here you are the assassin who is given supernatural abilities by a mysterious entity. This is a stealth game, although you can play it as a brute force lover as well. You just have to be way better with controls, because fighting multiple enemies is a real challenge here. The powers game gives you feels a bit like plasmids, with abilities like Blink, letting you teleport short distances, and Devouring Swarm, summoning a group of ghoulish rats to kill your enemies. The real fun of Dishonored comes in combining all your powers with your weapons and finding your own way through the semi-open environments. Interesting thing is that the genre of Dishonored games is whale-punk, a subgenre of steampunk where most of the energy is gathered from the hunted whales and their fat. Singularity. Here you will learn the truth beyond the massive cover-up of catastrophic Singularity, an event that fractured time and threatens the world as we know it. Armed with powerful advanced weaponry and experimental time manipulation device, you will fight enemies from the past, the present, and abominations caught somewhere in between. One of the coolest things here is the previously mentioned time manipulation device, which will help you to change the age of objects and enemies and bend time to your will. Imagine if you had this device when you wake up in the morning with a terrible hangover and you could just rewind time so you could drink all that delicious vodka over again. So here, with the help of this magical device, you will age enemies to dust in seconds, manipulate objects outside the laws of gravity, and degrade things to a withered state, or renew them to their pristine form. You will be a real time bender here.
I control time and space.
Yeah, like that. Singularity is a true epic sci-fi action thriller, heart-pounding, first-person combat action that will immerse you in the world where the past and present collide. We happy few. This is a tale of the plucky bunch of moderately terrible people trying to escape from a lifetime of cheerful denial. In this alternative 1960s England, conformity is key. You'll have to fight or blend in with a drug-addicted delusional inhabitants, most of whom don't take kindly to people who won't abide by their not-so-normal rules. In other words, you are in the world of psychos, and you have to survive and, you know...
Stay alive.
Yep. That. Here you will discover the city's dark history as you play through the intertwined narratives of 3 rebellious citizens, each with their own strengths and weaknesses as they face their pasts, prepare for the future, and engage in activities that aren't exactly what you could call blending in, although many people are talking that the change of narrative when jumping from one character to another is too big of a change and is annoying. Also, the game is very expensive. It was released in 2018, and after a few years it still costs 60 euros on Steam. This is way too much in my opinion, because the game is not perfect, its world is a bit generic and lifeless, and exploitable AI makes it even worse. But in general, 73% of reviews on Steam are positive. Not the greatest result, but I've seen worse. So grab it on a sale if you are intrigued. Metro series. Games are based on the story written by Dmitry Alexeyevich Gluchovsky and is set in the ruins of Moscow following a nuclear war where the survivors are forced to live in underground tunnels. You play as Artyom, a man who must save his home station from the dangers lurking within the tunnels. And there are plenty of dangers. Various mutants and humans relentlessly try to put you out of your misery. Literally, because living in those conditions is nothing less than misery, so monsters are actually trying to help you to die. There are 3 games in the series, and the last one, Metro Exodus, was released in 2019. Here you finally get out of the tunnels and try to make a living in the post-apocalyptic wasteland of the former Russian Federation full of mutants and dangerous men. And I speak like this not just to make a joke, but because every character in this game speaks like this. Check it out.
So, they were telling the truth.
Who was telling the truth?
Atomic Heart. Look what resurrected from the dead. No, it's not your alcoholic uncle. When he's in coma, nobody can wake him. I'm talking about Atomic Heart, a game that was announced at least 3 years ago and went through a development hell. Recently, they presented an epic-looking trailer where you can admire the gorgeous and weird gameplay at the same time. To be fair, just about a year ago, everyone was thinking that Atomic Heart is never happening, but it seems that tables have turned. Also, developers managed to hire one of the greatest video game music composers. Mick Gordon is writing the score, the same dude who wrote all those amazing Doom tracks. Although he somehow fucked up works with Doom Eternal, that doesn't make him any worse composer than he is. Events of Atomic Heart unfold in alternative universe during the high noon of the Soviet Union. The main character of the game is a special agent who was sent to a highly secret object by the Soviet government after it went radio silent. So, as you can guess, the weak batteries of local radio is not the issue. The monsters and various robots are. They went amok, haywire and crazy, and only you can stop them, and by doing that unveil the creepy secrets of creepy Soviet facility. Close to the Sun. It's 1897. Deep in international waters, the Helios stands still. Born of Nikola Tesla's vision, the Helios station serves as a haven for the greatest scientific minds. An unbound utopia for research, independent from the state and isolated from the gaze of society. Free to push the boundaries of matter and time. So you will step aboard the Helios in search of your sister, and you will quickly discover that something went wrong. Grand halls stand empty, and the stench of rotting flesh lingers in the air, because there are bodies on the ground, rotting. Yeah, when you see that, it can ring a bell in your mind that it might not be the usual state of this beautiful place. Or is it? That's what you have to find out. Despite the similar setting, Close to the Sun is a game of a different genre than BioShock. Game has a great story, but otherwise it is a walking simulator with few puzzles that are quite easy to solve. But if you want the feeling of mystery, weird facilities and strange creatures, this is a great game to try. Also, it has very positive reviews on Steam at the moment, so you won't be risking anything. Main list is over, but I have few honorable mentions. It's Wolfenstein: The New Order, The Old Blood, and Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus. These are the great games you will probably enjoy if you liked BioShock. Also, is it just me or somebody else also doing that? When I say Wolfenstein in my mind, it always sounds like a Hitler from some comedy movie would say.
Die Wolfenstein, ja ja.
And speaking about horrors, Dead Space games are also great choice if you are not, you know, not a... And now it's the time for you to consider subscribing. If you like this list with funny jokes and all that, there is a big chance that you will like more of my content in the future. Also, you can support me on Patreon and help me survive in harsh Eastern Europe and let me buy expensive vodka instead of cheap vodka. Even $1 a month is a huge help, and for that you will also get unique Patreon-only videos every month. All the links in the description below. And now have a nice day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
I hope that this is some serious.
Less talking, more drinking.